So let's look at the time. We are ready to go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Samantha, and this is Build Better Dashboards, right there. Yeah, there we go. If you haven't seen this slide yet, somehow, then allow me to be the person to show you our forward-looking statement. This is your regular reminder. Make all purchasing decisions on currently available features and functionality. Did you say it with me? Good. As a quick reminder, you'll be able to share your feedback about this session as well as other Dreamforce sessions via the Salesforce Events mobile app. Please provide feedback. We really do appreciate it. You can follow these steps and respond to your survey in the app, and this slide is at the end of the presentation too, so you will be able to get back to this QR code. Again, my name is Samantha Colvaro. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am the Systems and Salesforce Administrator for Exponent Partners, which is a nonprofit Salesforce consultancy. I am 5 times certified on the Salesforce platform, and one fun fact about me is that I consider myself a popcorn enthusiast. I come from a musical and theatrical family, and many patrons and moviegoers will tell you that the experience just isn't quite the same without popcorn. So we have a lot of ground to cover. I might go pretty quick. So if you have questions or want to talk about something more by the end of this, please find me. I'll probably be over there. I'd really love to meet you. Last note before we dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to all of these folks. These are real people in my network who agreed to let me use their pictures and their pronouns so I wouldn't have to go and generate names or make something up. I will change the company they work for and their titles for the scenario, but these are all real people. You can go find them, and thanks to them for letting me use their pictures. All right, so I want to kick off this session by saying that dashboards are deceptively difficult things. I don't necessarily mean creating them. Trailhead does a good job at that. But this right here lays it out pretty well. You make a report, you add a chart or a graph, and you put it on the dashboard, and you're done. But I'd like to encourage you to think a little bit more deeply about the dashboard construction, starting all the way back at your reports. We have some basic questions here. What do you want to see, and what do you want to use it for? These, you have to know the answer to these questions in order to even start building your report. It will completely change the way that you build reports if you just know the answers thoroughly to both of these questions. Then, when it comes to visualizing the data, we add a couple more questions. How do you want to see the data, and how do you want it divided? So now we're asking what visual they might be looking for, how do you want the data to be compared, and of course, last, why we're all here today, the dashboards. So these are the questions that I ask for the person who requested the dashboard. This is what is the most basic purpose of your dashboard, and who's going to be referencing it. And so for this reason, I actually start planning my dashboards right here at the end. This is the most basic purpose of a dashboard should be able to be summarized in one sentence, and the sentence cannot be, I want to know everything about this department. That's too vague. You gotta slim it down for me. If you're gonna talk about sales, chances are good the conversation you're gonna have with a user of the sales team is gonna be different than your VP of sales. They're gonna need different dashboards. So this right here will help you build better dashboards. Thank you. No, don't leave. We're not done. But this is a good start. We're going to give you some more pointers and tips, don't worry. So here is the plan. First, we're going to go building over the right dashboard to suit your audience. Then we're going to transition towards what makes an effective dashboard. And then we're going to show how to pull visuals from outside of Salesforce and put them in your Salesforce dashboards. So for this presentation, I'm going to be referencing a fictional popcorn company. Let's call them Dream Pop. See that whole popcorn thing came back around? Along with that, keep an eye out for this little popcorn bucket all the way through the presentation. This will pop up anytime there's quick takeaways. I like to call these little kernels of information. I probably won't call these out directly, so if you do want to snap pictures of them, I don't blame you. Otherwise, all of this, including the presentation and any documentation, will be available via a QR code and link at the end. So if you're the person who has to take pictures of every slide and try to write notes, take a breath, relax, don't worry, you'll be able to get the data. So here are a few members of the Dream Pop sales team. One day they come in and say, we need a sales dashboard. So you saw this presentation. You already know the next steps. You ask, so who's going to be using this dashboard? What's the basic purpose? And suddenly you get 3 very different answers. Allison, who's our VP of Sales, wants something she can see the status of the whole department. Christy's looking for something that she can review with her manager, but also use day-to-day to track her team and how it's doing against other teams. And Julia wants to see her sales versus her coworkers and records that need her immediate attention. These are 3 very different answers, and they may occasionally be interested in the same data, but they're probably not going to be looking at each other's dashboards all the time. For now, we're going to focus on Allison, who's our VP of Sales. We've got her dashboard request right here, so we know where we're headed. But rather than working backwards, I'm going to jump right back to reports. She wants to see sales, aka opportunities, and records that closed in the last 6 months and records that are going to close in the next 6 months. That gives us a great next step. So then we'll talk about visualizing the data. She gets very specific and says, I want to see it exactly like this. You probably won't get exact information like this, but it can be helpful. So the more precise they can be, the better. But let's go take a look at how this will look on a dashboard. With our component here on the left, you can see how each region has performed over the last 6 months because each one has their own distinct color. Fun fact, this is a setting you can actually put in setup. This is a pick list, so you're able to assign specific colors to each region. Anytime you can do that and make it uniform across all of your dashboards, I highly recommend it. And then over here on the right, we have our sales funnel with our less likely to close at the top and our most likely to close at the bottom. There are other ways to customize the funnel, but this is its basic use, and it does really work well for this. So by reporting on these steps again, we'll get Christy's and Julia's dashboards. We'll get everybody all set up, and our sales team will be very happy. Even though they don't have one sales dashboard, they'll have everything they need. However, we're going to leave the sales team behind for our next scenario and pivot to a different department. So this time they already have a dashboard, but they need help making adjustments. Here is our support team. This is Rachel, Jude, and Ellen, and they came to us with a few specific requests. Rachel believes that the data is on her dashboard, but she doesn't think she can read it. Ellen sees specific components for each user, and Jude notices some things are too small and maybe there's duplicate data. So let's see how we can fix this for them. Let's look at the dashboard. So I see what they're saying. You can see here that these components are way too small that you can't even read them. And these two will appear to be almost identical, but they do have slight differences. So it's time to dive into the data and see what the problems are. We're going to start right up at the top with the all cases one in the upper left. So we reach out to Rachel to see how she's using that component, and what she really wants to see here is all of the open cases and how they were submitted. Because of the way the report's formatted, there's no groups in that report. So we're going to have to edit the report. Anytime you edit a report people are actively using, make sure you reach out to all stakeholders and ask them how they are using it and if you can change it. It may be easier to clone a report rather than trying to edit something that already exists. So after grouping the report, I'm able to adjust the component, and because Rachel was manually counting cases before, I kept the numbers on there, but she's looking for percentages, so I checked this box to make sure that we can get percentages on our donut chart as well. All right, next we'll tackle cases by the date component, which needs its date grouped by month. But the big thing here is that we're actually going to put this chart on the report, and then we're going to put the same chart on our dashboard. So it doesn't matter where they're looking, they're going to get the same data. And you can do that by setting up the component and checking the little box right up there. That way, all you have to do is build the chart once, no way to duplicate the work. You can also edit some of the other settings on these components too, so you're not totally locked in. And then last, we're going to address these two bottom components. They do look almost the same, but if you look closer, you can see that one is all closed cases, and then one is all cases. So there are slight differences, but very slight. And the data values do differ. So we're going to make sure that these components are actually more useful. I'm going to turn these into one report rather than two components on a dashboard. So this chart will show how many cases we've received grouped by primary complaint and how many of those are closed. So now we don't have to worry about trying to compare two funnels. Everything is in the same component. The more often you can do that, the better. So last, we're going to address these 3 components. Not only are they so small that you can't read them, but it's probably not the best way to show this information for users. So when we reach out to Ellen, she says that they don't really need numbers for each individual. They just need the numbers enough that they can see them when they need them. So the answer to this is probably going to be a report filter. Because this is all going to be based on the cases object, our filter is going to apply to all of our components. So not only can we see the number of cases that they have, but we'll be able to see all of the components filtered by user if we want to. So now that we've adjusted those components, here's a few quick kernels of knowledge that I want to add. First, dark themes tend to be easier on users' eyes. You turn those on whenever you can, as long as people are open to it. Second, there is a theme called Mineral. It is the accessible option, and it offers colors that are very different from one another, so it makes your dashboards a lot easier to read if your users are sick of saying, well, the light blue is a little bit better than the dark blue. Say pink and yellow. It's easier. And this last bullet is my personal opinion, but I stand behind it. The perfect number of components for a dashboard does not exist. A Salesforce dashboard can only have 20 components, so you can't go over that. But the ideal dashboard fits on a user's screen with basically no scrolling. Not everybody's monitor is the same, so there's a little bit of an asterisk. But if you can keep it all on one screen, they're way more likely to use it, reference it, and access it. Okay, so let's see this finished dashboard here. I did go ahead and turn on dark mode. That's what it looks like. And this is the mineral theme that I was talking about. You can see the difference between the pinks and the blues a lot easier. And there's even more room. So this component takes up our whole bottom. We would very easily be able to add other components if they wanted to add them in later. All right, so let's talk about our last piece of the puzzle while we still have time. How do you show data outside of Salesforce? First, when it comes to data analysis, honestly, nothing beats Tableau. It's the gold standard. You can learn about it by watching the keynote on Salesforce Plus. You can go up to the 3rd floor in Moscone West. There's a whole bunch of stuff about Tableau up there. If Tableau just isn't in the cards for your company or for whatever reason, it wasn't for me, and that's fine, you can try this product called ZapX. This automatically imports, refreshes, and edits data within Salesforce for you automatically. It connects right to your Google Sheets. I found it to be extremely helpful. But if neither of those solve your problem, we have a third option, and this is something that I created for my organization, and it is called External Reports. One quick note about external reports, it definitely has its uses, but due to its nature, may not be your best long-term solution. You'll see what I mean. But I'll take you a quick walkthrough on how I set it up and how users are able to execute using it. So this is Riley. She's our head of product. She's asking to see Jira reports in Salesforce. We can't do that by default, so what we're going to do is we're going to use our external reports setup to put her Jira reports into our dashboard. So here is the basics for setting up this object. You set up the custom object, make sure everybody can see reports on it, make sure everybody has access to it, and adjust your user profile settings as needed. Better yet, access your permission settings as needed. And then make sure that you've got files and libraries turned on for the users because they'll need to be able to access that as well. But this is all of the pre-setup. Everything else can be done from the user side. So here's an image from Jira that I just took a picture of. We'll capture this with a screenshot or image capture software, whatever the case, and we're going to import this to our external reports library in Salesforce. So here's our libraries. We go to external reports, which is a library I previously set up. We click add files, and then we click the upload files button where you would upload the screenshot you saved to your computer. So now we have the file in our library. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, honestly. We need to get the URL of the image of the chart that is now in Salesforce. So we'll click on the file to show it full screen. And then you would open up the menu, right-click, control-click, whatever your operating system uses to get the options. From there, click Copy Image Address, and then you'll paste it. You'll get something that looks kind of like this. It's not the prettiest URL, but it's not about appearance. It's about substance. So we'll copy that URL, go to our newly created external reports tab and click new, and we'll have a form that looks something like this. The big one here is going to be that chart image URL. That's where that URL that we just copied goes, and we'll fill everything in, and then we'll click save. So we can immediately see that it worked. You've got your chart down here on the bottom, and that's showing on the record. You've got the name of the record on the top, and you can see the owner. The owner should be the person in charge of updating that image. We've got our external report link, so we can always go to the report. We've got the chart image URL, and then there's a couple of settings down here that affect the information in our details field. So you see here that I've got the chart may not be accurate to date. That's our disclaimer field. And then there is another field in here where if I check the external link not public, you'll notice now you can't click on the details, and it tells you who to reach out to if the image is not correct. And then you fill in the owner field with Riley's name because she's in charge of that data. So then we need to get this into our dashboard. This is the easy part. We'll go to the Reports tab and click on New Report. Here we are. We'll click the external reports chart type, click Start Report. Pretty straightforward. And then we just fill in these fields. You set up the external report outline to just show the details field. Set the filters to just be the name of the record that you created right here, but everything else is everything. And then save it in, I recommend an external reports folder just so that everybody has access. So we'll click Save, and here is the report. That's the entire report right there. So you might know where this is going, but let's push it across the finish line. We'll go into our dashboards, create the product development dashboard, add a component, click our new report that we just created right there. The only option we have is the the lightning table, too many L words. And that's exactly what we want, so we don't have to change anything. We'll click Add, adjust the component to fit, save, done. And now you've got an image from an external service inside of a Salesforce dashboard. And again, as you might have noticed, it takes manual updating. So how do you keep it updated? Well, chances are good that Riley really appreciates it and she's happy to have it, but she's been busy with Dreamforce. She's going to forget. So we recommend setting up a flow to send a reminder to users to update their data periodically. You can do it once a week. You can do it 10 days after the last time the record was modified, whatever you want to do. And there are other things that this object can do as well. We can just set up regular text that links anywhere you want to go. Turn off all the, don't include an image, turn off all the disclaimers, and you can have a link to anywhere right inside of your dashboard. If somebody's always saying, man, I wish I could just get there from here, now you can. All right, so before we go, I want to put this slide up one more time for the people who really like to take pictures. If you haven't gotten a chance, this is it. I highly recommend capturing this because this is my method for dashboard creation, which I've been doing a lot of recently. And this is tried and true. It keeps the edits down for sure. Good, I'm seeing phones come up and go down. You guys are doing great. All right. And then here is that QR code that I promised you that will take you to a post in the community that will have this presentation. It already has the step-by-step documentation on how you can create the external reports object. And it also includes links to these two trails right here. If reports and dashboards are a new thing for you as an admin, welcome. We're happy to have you. Give these a shot. These are some of the best trails that I've found regarding those two subjects. So ultimately, if you take nothing else from this presentation, I hope that you remember the best ones are the dashboards that you understand at a glance. No additional research required and hardly any context needed. The most effective dashboards are the ones that pop into your head when you need them. I'm so punny. Thanks all for coming. Enjoy the rest of your Dreamforce. Have a good day.
Thank you for watching. We would love to get your opinion on this content, so please leave us some feedback on the comments section below. If you did like this content, give that like button a tap, and of course, if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the Salesforce Admin's YouTube channel. If you want to learn more about being a Salesforce admin in general, head on over to admin.salesforce.com. Thanks again.